Okay, so sorry it's been so long since I did one of these. I had graduation and then I had Christmas and things just got crazy for a little while. So I'm going to continue where I left off before with frugality tips. And I'm going to try and get everything done here so this can be the last one, but there's a lot to cover. So we were talking about buying things used before. Obviously you can buy cars used. A car loses about 20% of its value the minute you drive it off the lot. There are plenty of gently used options out there. Try to remember that the purpose of a car is to get you from point A to point B, preferably with reliability. You don't need luxury features to get you there. Toys and games and gadgets, check Craigslist first. We got a huge load of those wooden train track toys on Craigslist for our boys on Christmas. The kids can't tell the difference that it was used. They were just excited to have trains to play with. You can plan to do a toy swap with another family for Christmas or birthdays. Some electronics like cameras are okay to purchase used. Movies, books. I found so many thrift store treasures, including some of my favorite wardrobe items from thrift stores. It makes me feel awesome to let somebody else pay full price and then I get the same item later on, pretty much in the same condition for just a fraction of the cost. Sometimes you have to hunt for those good quality items, but they're in there. If you absolutely have to buy something new, don't ever pay full price. Wait for sales, use coupons, stock up when they're cheap, and if you're buying something online, don't ever check out before at least Googling a coupon code or a free shipping code. Try store brand items. You might be surprised at the quality and they're so much cheaper. Expect to be satisfied. If you're not happy with something, take it back. There's no reason to be rude about it, by the way, but if you pay money for something, you deserve to be completely happy about it. Children's clothing, you don't need to dress your child like a child celebrity. Even if you want to, at the very least, save your money for when they're teenagers and you have no choice but to buy the brands they want. Thrift stores would always be my first choice for clothes if you need them. They have some really nice quality clothing out there. I found a lot of really nice brands in good condition. If you just can't bring yourself to shop there, which I think everyone should at least try, by the way, Kid to Kid is a very gently used clothing store that we've had a lot of success with. They sell baby items too. They're usually so packed with stuff that you can find anything you're looking for in any size and it's still pretty cheap. And after all that, if you still absolutely cannot stand the idea of buying used clothes, at the very least, shop at Costco or another bulk store. Their clothes are great quality and cheap. There's not really ever a reason to shop for clothes at places like the mall, unless you maybe need to buy like socks or underwear, which you can still buy with coupons. I know the brand new clothes are cute and fashionable, but if you currently have any unsecured debt, I'm guessing that you can't afford them. Also, if you can't afford things from those stores, one way to avoid the temptation is to just not go. We've seen all the Target memes about how, you are forced to buy things against your will. It's true. So just stay away from the stores. I used to be a huge shopping addict, and when I'm in those malls or stores, my self-control is majorly tested, so I've learned to just stay away from them. When I have to go in to buy something, I have to put on my blinders and ignore all those tempting purchases. Also, be honest to yourself about whether you're buying something because it's on sale or because you actually need it. If shopping is therapeutic to you or relaxing, find another way to relax that you enjoy. Or you can channel that therapy to another cheaper thrift store or consignment shop. I found that that still satisfies my need to shop, and I usually only go when I have something to look for anyway. Beauty products. Hair and nail care is really expensive. If you can find a way to do it yourself, that would be great. I'm not an expert on beauty products. I had my hair bleached blonde at one point, and it cost hundreds of dollars to keep up. You can obviously tell that I've stuck with my natural hair color since then, which isn't anything special, but it's very easy to maintain. Nails. I know some women who cannot fathom the idea of not getting their nails done every few weeks, but again, if you have consumer debt, you're going to have to cut back somehow. Makeup is tricky. There's some makeup items you can really skimp on, like eyeliner you can get from the dollar store. Others can be more noticeable if you get cheap versions. My best advice there is to just find what you like and stick with it. You don't need 11 different eyeshadows or colors and so on. Face products are another expensive item. I use the Neutrogena makeup removers from Costco, and that's all. Those really pricey sets like Mary Kay may feel really fantastic and claim to reduce signs of aging, but the way I see it, if you're spending money that you don't have, the stress of it all is going to make you age even faster and make the skincare products pointless anyway. I'm 28, so you'll have to decide for yourself how terrible or good I look for my age yourself and take that advice accordingly. Another tip, do things yourself. There are so many how-to YouTube videos out there, WikiHow, Google, that should lessen the need for repair people. I'm lucky enough to have a husband who I can pass off that responsibility to, and he's almost always able to research a way to do it himself if he doesn't already know how. Another way we've simplified is to not pay for TV. I know some people feel like that's not for them, and that's fine, but we don't like the feel of our home when the TV is always on in the background. We felt like we were only watching it because it was there and not because we cared what we were watching, so we quit paying for it. Most things we care about watching we can find online or at the library, which brings me to my next tip, the library. Utilize your library. Not only do libraries have books and movies to borrow for free, they also usually have online systems where you can search for something specific and they'll find it for you and put it on hold. This works especially well for movies that are a couple years old. If you can stand the wait, it's much better than paying to see it in theaters, buying it when it comes out, or even renting it from iTunes or something. Also, the library usually has free activities for kids, story times, craft time, movement classes, and so on. Excuse me. Our kids like just hanging out there and looking at the books or playing with toys. Another way to save money on entertainment, make a list of free activities in your area. Splash parks, farms, libraries, go for a bike ride. Going to rivers or lakes are usually even more fun for our family than pools. Even things you would normally pay for usually have a free or discounted day. Just do the research. For example, today we're going to see Star Wars, and we don't care about seeing it in 3D, so we are going on the discount day. They have $5 Tuesdays. So, we're seeing a big, huge Star Wars movie in theaters for much cheaper than most people have seen it. If you have small children, I think you'll find that just taking them outside on a walk, stopping to look at rocks and trees and streams are just as entertaining to them as anything else. Preschool. Let's talk about preschool. That's another one that I would not personally pay for. If you have one person staying at home with the kids, there's no reason to pay for preschool. You can teach them at home if money is tight, or you can form a group of children in your neighborhood yourself and have the parents switch off teaching each week. Preschool is basically just raising awareness about the world and learning to be in a class environment, which can be done through reading and play groups just as easily. Also, it broke my heart to send my oldest to kindergarten this year, so preschool would have been too much for me to handle anyway. I might be a bit biased because I'm one of 7 children and none of us went to preschool, and I can't speak for anyone's opinion about how I turned out, but all 6 of my siblings are incredibly smart and successful despite not going to preschool. If you don't have someone staying home with the kids, I would suggest that you take another look at how much you are spending on childcare, an extra car, gas, work clothing, eating out, and so on, to see if the money that you bring home after all that is really worth all the hours you're putting in. There are situations where sacrificing a few luxuries in your life could allow you to work less and see your family more, which seems like the ultimate goal. I don't know about you, but I've never heard anyone say that they wish they would have spent more time working and less time with their kids. I know that gets into kind of a controversial subject, but just financially speaking, it might make more sense for one spouse not to work. It's worth looking into at least. Baby items. First of all, you'll need to realize that you don't need every baby gadget out there. For example, an expensive stroller. Up till about 9 to 10 months old, it's much more comfortable to carry the baby in a carrier or a wrap, and that's also great exercise. The baby usually enjoys that familiar motion anyway, and you don't have to deal with that bulky stroller. The car seat clip-on strollers are so expensive, and the baby usually does better in a carrier anyway. That's been our experience. If you must have a stroller, just a cheap $20 to $30 one does the trick just as well. A lot of people buy those really expensive baby items, then the first year flies by in a flash, and pretty soon you don't need it anymore, so they go into storage or you get rid of it. Not really an item that warrants a huge amount of money. We got a little high chair seat free from a friend, those super classic clown color plastic ones, super ugly. Probably originally only cost $15, but it does the job. It's lasted through 3 kids, and I don't want to pay for an expensive one when my kids are going to be grown and gone before I know it, and I'll be looking for a way to get rid of it. So this way I can recycle this one out without a thought after we're done with it, and it didn't cost me a dime. Also on the subject of wasting money on children, let me give you some gifting tips. Children under the age of 3 don't know what's happening when they're getting gifts. You should not be spending $100 on gifts for your one-year-old. They're just going to play with the box anyway. For the first 3 years of our kids' lives, we just wrap up random items from around the house for birthdays and Christmas and have them open those. And even after that stage, kids can't tell for a long time that toys are used, so we'll get things we know they'll like off Craigslist or a thrift store. Our 5-year-old is still receiving Craigslist items, and he has no idea. And I promise our kids are not deprived. Even with those tricks, our house feels like it's bursting at the seams with toys for them. Same idea with other holidays. Kids don't care what they are for Halloween when they're toddlers, especially if you avoid giving them an option. For a long time, I would just raid my mom's Halloween costume and have a costume stash and have them pick something out from there. No use making an extravagant Easter basket for a baby. You get the idea. Save that money for when they're older and they actually care about those things. We also only do big birthday parties every 5 years. The years in between, we do just gifts and cake and ice cream as a family. This is less stress for mom, much cheaper, and the kids appreciate those big parties more. It's so natural to want to spoil your kids and shower them with gifts or give them the childhood you never had, but it's also not necessary, and I promise that if you don't start off by giving them tons of gifts, they won't ever know the difference. Vacations, first of all, try to take less vacations. I can tell you as a person who went 6 straight years between vacations that you will survive. We've done family get-togethers, but not vacations during that time. We went to Las Vegas 7 years ago before the kids, and last year we took the kids to Disneyland. That's it. And note that we were already debt-free. We had saved up the money ahead of time, but even then we wanted to go as cheap as possible. We stayed at a very cheap Super 8 within walking distance. After a rebate from Hotels.com, remember to Google coupons, we stayed for just $75 a night, including taxes and fees. That also included free parking and free breakfast. Was it a 5-star hotel? No. Was it acceptable? Absolutely. It was a quiet, safe place for us to shower and sleep in between days of actual vacationing. Again, the kids never knew any different, and even if they had, they never would have appreciated the luxuries of a more expensive hotel. They were just thrilled to be at Disneyland, and that's where we spent all our time. We didn't offer them any souvenirs, and if something caught their eye, we would distract them with a fun activity, because it is Disneyland after all. We had our free breakfast at the hotel, which wasn't gourmet every day, but it wasn't anything worse than what we would have had at home. We brought sack lunches, and we only bought dinner inside the parks. We avoided the park hopper tickets and got 1 park per day and just planned accordingly so we could see everything, just not hopping between the parks. That was less walking anyway. The experience was just as magical as it would have been even if we had spent twice as much. So you don't have to live like a hermit or say goodbye to vacations altogether. Just pull the reins a bit on your lifestyle and try to do the same things, just cheaper. Airbnb is a great way to save money on traveling too. So choose a vacation you really want to do, set a realistic timeline to save first, and don't go more often than you can afford. And please, oh please, do not charge a vacation to your credit card. The stress of that extra debt will bring you, the stress that extra debt is going to bring you is going to completely cancel out any relief you were going to get from that vacation. So, the idea of all these tips is to make it almost like a game to see how little you can spend on the things you need. Ask yourself, could I do the same thing in a cheaper way? You work hard for your money and you deserve to keep it. Anything you can do to change the way that you think about spending will help you keep more. There shouldn't be negative connotations attached to being cheap. It's actually a very wise way to live. If you're worried about your children feeling like they're poor, I promise they won't even realize the difference. And teaching them that money has its limits will help them gain a healthy respect for money management themselves. have the kids be part of the planning, and that will help them understand the finite nature of money also. You can let them choose. You can say things like, we have X amount of money. We can do a bunch of county fair rides, or we can put that money towards a trip to Disneyland. But we can't do both. Which would you like to spend it on? So I hope that's given you at least a few ideas on how to save money in 2017. Saving money is one of the best New Year's resolutions out there, and I'm a huge advocate for it, as you can probably tell. So, good luck saving.